Oh my word, folks. Munster are going to the URC final. 16 points to 15 winners over Leinster. I've just watched this one. It's now like 10:30 in the morning here in NZ. Didn't know the result, thank goodness for that, because it was a cracking one, which went down to a very late Munster drop goal to get the job done. I think it was like 5 lead changes in this game, which was kind of relatively low scoring, especially compared to the other semi-final. But anyway, we will go through some key events and stats. You guys can let us know your thoughts. But yeah, good weather, good crowd. A lot of red in that crowd, I noticed. I mean, obviously, Leinster have still got the Champions Cup final to think about. So that's a factor in that maybe there was a wee bit more, I don't want to say more red, but maybe the ratio of reds to blue was higher than it might have been if Leinster had been kind of solely focused on the URC. I don't know. People can only buy so many tickets, and apparently the tickets are not the cheapest. But yeah, that was a cracking setting for what was a pretty intense game. Sadly for Leinster, Connors went off very, very early within the first minute with what seemed like a pretty serious injury. Pretty useful replacement in Josh van der Flier to come off the bench, though. I'm sure they would not have wanted to bring him on as early as they had to, but he comes on, and Leinster get themselves on the board with the first penalty of the game. Harry Byrne slots one, so 3 points to 0. Happy days for them, apart from the Connors injury. And Van der Flier pretty much won a turnover with his first kind of defensive shift as well, so he was doing what he does, although Barron won one back for Munster, so kind of a bit of tit-for-tat stuff early. Interestingly, Munster, though, when they had a chance on about 8 minutes to opt for a penalty, it would have been kind of from the side, so not an easy kick, but certainly in Leinster's half. They opted not to take it, and this was largely a story of Munster's plan to tackle Leinster was not really to opt for threes. They did on occasion, but generally they wanted to go for the jugular. It was hard going, man. They went for the maul, they went through some phases, eventually they knocked it on, and that was going to become a little bit of a story of the game in that, like, teams just couldn't get over the whitewash for the most part. I mean, it happened, but it proved pretty bloody hard going. Both sides defensively were not giving up a whole heck of a lot. So they knock it on for the first one. The next time they get a chance to do it, they do opt for a 3. It's kind of in a more central position. It's a longer kick for Healy, but he's able to, always get those two mixed up. He's able to kind of slot it. It's a good long-range kick, but yeah, 3 points apiece. It's been a kind of even game, but I would say Munster, certainly in terms of the position and territory, have had a lot of pill. Ryan Baird showed, I don't want to say Olympic-level sprinter speed, but for a lock, loose forward, some pretty bloody good wheels, and it's what he's known for, man. That guy in any kind of open space is crazy athletic. He's denied, though. It was looking like a peach of a turnover try, just like loose ball. From a aerial contest, Peter O'Mahony looked to have knocked it back, and then Baird pounced on it, ran like 50 metres and scored, but it's ruled that there's a Leinster hand in there which knocked it forward. So unlucky for Ryan Baird. That would have been kind of, one of his all-time great tries, but he scored some good ones. He's a good line breaks and whatnot in the past. He likes the old kind of pirouette and whatnot, so but that would have been a classic. Unfortunately for him, gets chalked off. A few minutes later, Munster go through a bunch of phases in Leinster's half. They start going backwards, which is a little bit concerning, but there's a Leinster tackle off the ball, and Munster do opt for another kick, so it's 6 points to 3. Munster take the lead for the first time of the game. Munster get more phases a few minutes later. It looks like they've got an overlap, but McGrath gets pinged for kind of playing a man off his feet. This time, Munster opt for touch. I think if McGrath doesn't do that, maybe Leinster are in a wee bit of trouble. But from being down Leinster's end again, going for the jugular, they are stopped, stripped, and Leinster are able to exit. So it was getting a little bit frustrating for Munster. It would kind of get worse in terms of them just going down to the Leinster 22 and not being able to get points. Like I wrote on 33 minutes, they need points underlined. McGrath again gets his hand in the way of a Leinster pass, but it's just it's not like a yellow card kind of deliberate knock on. But yeah, again from the penalty, Munster up for touch. This time they don't maul it, which was a bit of a change of pace because sometimes you can get into that pattern of just doing the same thing every time. But they kind of flicked it off the top and lost the bloody thing forward. So it looked like one of those games where every time you kind of go for the try, you're just going to muck it up, and you can feel Leinster when they get a chance to go down the other end are not going to make the same mistake. And wouldn't you know it, like almost just stereotypically, right before halftime, Leinster go down Munster's end. It's a load of pressure. Henshaw with the offload to Jenkins. He bobbles it a wee bit, but he's able to hang on. And it's 10 points to 6 at halftime with Leinster in front. So certainly in terms of like entries into the 22 and points taken, Munster wouldn't be happy with how that went. They would be happy with how much pressure they were able to put on. But Leinster a bit more clinical. So it's another lead change. And as I said, Leinster go into the sheds with a narrow 4-point lead, but it's still a lead after defending for large periods. Second half, Coombs gets another line break, but it's another Munster knock on. 44 minutes is a penalty in Leinster's 22. I write up for the 3. It's time. Like, you're going to do a Connacht the week before where you just win a game on penalties, but no. They tap it and go. And I'm shaking my head thinking, you guys aren't going to be able to score a try. This is not one of those days. But I'm dead wrong because they get advantage. And Tyke Byrne. Pretty much everything that guy touched seemed to go to gold this week, to be honest. You felt safer whenever he was near the ball from a Munster point of view. But they finally get themselves over. So they take a 13 points to 10 lead. The lead has changed again. And I am sitting back thinking, okay, maybe I'll let the professionals do their job. 50 minutes, though, it looks like Leinster are going to hit back straight away. It's one of those ones where you have to work so hard for it, and then they just get down the other end and score. But no, Munster's defence holding. It's that man Tyke Byrne again with a turnover. So, as I said, kind of key man for the Munster boys. 54 minutes, Munster get into the 22. Advantage. A lot of red zone penalties conceded from Leinster, I would say. They were kind of lucky to avoid a card with how many penalties they conceded in their own 22, I thought. 18 phases Munster went from back for the advantage. They don't opt for a 3. They go for a line out. It's a wee bit messy, but they keep possession. 17 phases eventually lose the ball. So another attacking chance kind of goes a biggin. Tommy O'Brien for Leinster went bloody close on turnover ball again. Harry Byrne dinked it through, and O'Brien with the wheels to get there. Byrne was chasing back, of course, as he does for Munster. But Tommy O'Brien can't quite handle it. He knocks it on, so it's very, very close. It's another one like the Baird one, which was kind of only a sliver away from being a score. But then Leinster get one anyway a few minutes later. Joe McCarthy, there's 10 plus phases for Leinster. They go in front with the McCarthy score. He's only just come on. 15-13. At that time, I'm thinking, man, Munster, you've been knocking on the door that many times. You're probably not going to get this one done. It's probably not going to happen. Like, you needed to take your earlier chances. Leinster are probably going to do what Leinster does. I've watched enough Leinster-Munster in my time to know that Leinster tends to get the win. There's a bit of handbags, there's knock-ons, forward passes, offside in front of the kicker. The players are looking pretty knackered because the intensity of the game has been really high. And that's kind of the way I see it going out. But again, I should just keep my thoughts to myself because I'm dead wrong. 75 minutes, man. Munster are chasing the game. They kind of have to run everything. They're in their own half. They go through a load of phases, get themselves into Leinster's half. And I'm literally writing the note. This is when you need to take a drop goal because you're in great field position. You're in front, and you've proven most of the times, apart from the Byrne try, that you can't score the try. You need to take the drop. And then Crowley, boom! Cool as you like it. Jack Crowley nails the drop goal before I can even finish writing my notes. 15 points Leinster, 16 points Munster. Munster go in front with very, very 2-3 minutes to go. Pressure's on Leinster. What can they do? Well, it's a big restart, but their chasers are ahead of the kicker. So they're pinged. It's an important scrum, and you'd say Leinster's scrum has been getting the ascendancy. They did win a penalty from it earlier on. So Munster can't afford to concede a penalty at scrum time. The scrum's under pressure, but they managed to get the ball out. They go through 2 sets of phases before Casey is just able to boot the ball into touch, and Munster walk away from the Aviva with a famous 1-point win and a trip to South Africa to play the Stormers in the final. What a game. Crazy stuff. Like low scoring, but high intensity. I love it. I do love it. Possession finishes 58-42 to Munster. Territory 54-46 to Munster. Munster 463 run meters to Leinster's 398. Defenders beaten 25 to Leinster's 23. Tackles though, Leinster had to make 177 to Munster's 141. penalty count is maybe the key one. 12 penalties conceded by Leinster, just the 5 by Munster. How many times was that blow of that whistle able to send Munster down into Leinster's 22? But yeah, Mike Haley, 74 metres, 4 defenders beaten. Josh Hodden at 18 tackles. Tyke Byrne with the turnovers. Conan for Leinster, 22 tackles. Van der Fleer, 21. Wins 3 turnovers. But yeah, kind of starved of possession and territory. A couple of close calls, Leinster, but not able to get it done. Obviously, both these sides still have the finals. The Leinster guys will be 100% focused on the Champions Cup final. And Munster, I think, have got a fortnight before the game in South Africa. Hopefully, they're able to travel early and get themselves kind of settled in to Cape Town before the game. But yeah, didn't see it coming, I'll admit. Certainly didn't see it coming. Munster certainly proved me wrong, but well done for making a final, man. It feels like it's been kind of overdue. I thought it was going to be Ulster's year to make a final, but like many things, I thought wrong. But well done, Munster. It's a massive achievement, and yeah, for Leinster, it's another year, it's another semi-final. So focus on the Champions Cup, I suppose. But yeah, you guys let us know your thoughts, and I will talk to you guys again. So see you later.